Okay, one of the most basic things that you'll need to know how to do when using Adobe Illustrator is how to start a new document. There are a couple different settings that you'll need to understand, so let's go into those. File, New, or Command-N will open up this window. In this window, you can name your document. Several main things that you'll need to pay attention to. Let's start with profiles. You can start on print or web. They also have a list of devices that you can output to. You can create vector graphics for film and video, or you can do basic RGB. We're going to focus on print and web at this point because they can do a lot of these other ones as well. When you choose print, it will change your color mode to CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Your raster effects are going to be at 300 points per inch, or PPI. It's not DPI because we're not dealing with ink. We're dealing with pixels on a screen, so it's pixels or points per inch. And you will have units. I like to change the units to inches because then I can kind of see what's going on. Your orientation, notice that this is 8.5 wide and 11 high. If you choose landscape instead of portrait, it switches those, so that's 11 inches wide and 8.5 high. And you can have a bleed. Typically, a bleed is a good idea for anytime you are going to print. Let me show you what that does. It creates this red line, and I chose 1/8 of an inch, 0.125 inches. It means that if I want something to bleed off of the edge of the paper, it needs to go to at least this red line, because printers have a little bit of variation. They're physical machines, and as they print, they can be a 32nd of an inch off. So you want to have 1/8 of an inch at least, so that they can trim the edges of that. Check with the printer, or with the advertiser, or with the whoever you're giving the document to make sure what their standards are, what they want. What are their specs. By default, doing a 0.125 inch bleed and keeping things that need to be read half an inch away from the edge, you're going to be pretty safe with that. Now, if I choose web, there are some notable differences. You'll notice that the units are now pixels instead of inches, because we're not dealing with paper, we're now dealing with screens. You can still switch orientation. The main differences are going to be the color mode is now RGB, red, green, blue, instead of CMYK. RGB is for screens or things that illuminate. CMYK is for printed material or things that reflect light. Okay, if it reflects light, it's ink, it's CMYK. If it emits light, it is RGB because it's pixels. Your raster effects are 72 PPI at that point in time. You still have the option of changing these, but I like for web to keep it to pixels because then I kind of know what I'm doing. Then you have a drop-down menu of some standard screen sizes, and you can choose one of these, or you can also input your own. So for measuring in pixels, and for some reason I know that I want it to be 8 inches wide, I can type 8IN, and then it'll jump and it converts that to pixels for me at the resolution that we're talking about. Now, technically Illustrator is resolution non-specific, which means that it's a scalable vector graphic that you're creating, but it does have the capability to deal with pixels, and when you output it, the size of your document does matter. The size of your artboard that you're outputting, say to, if you're outputting a web-optimized PNG, or a high-resolution JPEG, or a print-ready PDF, the size that you choose does matter, mainly because what you're outputting it to is not resolution non-specific most of the time. So if you're outputting it to another vector graphics format, then it continues to be resolution non-specific. But if you're outputting it to any number of web-optimized or print-ready sizes or file formats, then you need to understand that what you start with is pretty important. So pay attention to your width and your height, your units, and your color mode. And then your raster effects. Minimum print quality is 150 ppi. If you're going to the screen, you can do 72 ppi. I recommend if you're going to print that you do 300 ppi because it's always better to go higher. So you can kind of choose either 300 for print or 72 for screen. And then when you click OK, it creates that document for you.